I mean, both of those things are true. Oh, no, I didn't see what you said. The account was made 6 minutes ago. He was clearly watching, not signed in, and wanted to comment. Did he comment yet? He didn't get scared. That's good. The left feels in the alley, the right feels in the lines. I don't think it's as black and white as that. No comment yet. He's waiting for a good one. He's just raging right now. Not really. I'm really glad he pulled out of there. I'm glad Trump initially pulled out. It's bipartisan, regardless of what dumb assholes on Twitter will tell you. Trump is off back and forth, wasting hours in a day until they fall asleep and they do it again the next day. They rinse their repeat, because they're just completely clueless. They're supporting $4 dollar. That is the back of the book, and the back of the book, just like the one that has on seesaw. And just continues on and continues on. And that's all we're doing here. For the time being, of course, the other speak, maybe I'll talk about it, maybe we'll talk again about if we want. So that's what I'm saying. And I mean, we'll talk about it again. Who knows? Probably will yesterday. Not probably, seriously, we are. And so there's something like posing for photos, you're seeing on planes. We've got the plans there, of course, at the forefront. It's been a while since they've had a fuel on that fire. There's the people in there who pretend to care about people's lives over there. Other than people who, I'm not talking about this town, but people who are talking on TV, or talking on social media, Oh, if you are here in the chat, or rather, whatever name, oh, there you go. The call for buck stuff right here, and ready for vaccine NASA. Hey, the call for buck stuff. Clearly, you're not the call for an uprising. That would be crazy. But the call for an uprising happened to mention this, that he not only owns a TV, but he owns cable subscription, because he talked about seeing CNN and MSNBC. If he claims the media is such poison, why the fuck is he paying every month for cable? Because I don't even pay for cable. What's up with that? Raven says, not inside. Pull out, not inside. Andrew Vitello says, I know that's a good one, Commander. First one. Andrew Vitello says, I don't know too much about the international politics, but do you think there might have been a better way to pull out? I honestly can't tell. If anything, maybe maintain or at least start evacuations earlier. It seems that for some reason they assumed it would take longer for the Taliban to take over, and I have no idea why. But yeah, I mean, not maintain a military presence longer, but start evacuations earlier, just with the understanding of the Taliban. Yeah, I think it really came out of pride in the U.S. not wanting to be like, well, we're evacuating before we even leave because we know we fucking lost. Doing that would be admitting we lost. It's another Vietnam, and make no mistake, it's another Vietnam, but even fucking worse. So people are going to die and get hurt just because of ego, basically, and helpless. Culture butt stuff says, fuck the culture and uprising. I've been watching fantasy 5 reloaded days to wait for butt stuff. Again, gotta do better with trolling. Butt stuff is butt stuff. Land Rick says, on a happier note, when does the Luba stop already? 2 months? HRT reporting in Luba Grove is mad type painful. It's going to be periodic. After like 3 or 4 months, it'll stop being as constant in my experience, but it'll happen in spurts. I'm probably a year and a half, almost 2 years in now. It's rare. Lugard says it was set up by the Afghani president dealing with suitcases full of cash during negotiations. All for butt stuff for 30 bits. Wait a minute, it's called giving, whoever this troll is, at this point I don't even know if it is called, because they're actually giving me bits. I only call would give me bits. But thanks.
This is actually disappointing. I'm doing this to piss off Call. Have some money. Okay. Andrew Patel says, can we all fund a plug for Call? I think he's doing so badly. Cat says, I can't wait for 20 years from now for textbooks to say we won this war. No, I don't know that. Meteor is Meteor. Thanks for subscribing to tier 1. Yeah, no, that's fine. I agree. Two fans says, hey, I'm getting dinner. Should I get the crazy calzone? Yes, let me know how it is.
Não, ela tá aqui, nem cheirou. Ela nem na mesa fica a cheirar. De qualquer maneira, posso pôr até. Sai, calma.
Keeping in check here as we go closer to September, and that specific date, the anniversary comes around. So,
Here's in the 250 on the train box.
one time to be alive, when I'm here to try to at least use your hopefully let you know what's going on, at least from a common sense standpoint, you can kind of see it at home. If there's someone in the left right there, here's another chance to jump off shit. And realize it's a show. Because it couldn't be more obvious. Just look at the narratives come out when these things happen. Look at the comedy show. Look at the photos. Think what are people, this is what they're doing. They're sitting at the bed. See how he's got them trained now. All of them, on all sides of the world. Hang on, when you do these events with selfies. I don't know who was in general.
Talked about stuff so I did. Jalen 30 says, is it true that the breast pain comes in those months? It comes in.
E levas logo.
Usually you don't see the final growth until like 3 years. On HRT, that's never.
The forum is very active, lots of great stuff over there. Check it out if you have it. I want to do a scan. I have that new merchandise store. Check it out, give it a look. Lots of different stuff in there. Helps the channel out greatly, so check it out. If you have it, I want to thank you again for your support. Stuff in my backup channel, if you get a chance, and that's good for all of us. This is the world we live in, folks. Great times, great times. Now let's all do your things.
Cole did another video on this that I'm not gonna watch because he's a dumbass. And honestly, the Afghan kids they really frustrates the hell out of me because of the state of the world and it's not good. And he's also doing anti-vax stuff. So I don't know. Check out his channel, watch the videos. He usually does stuff that breaks the rules. So if you see him doing any anti-vax stuff, report him. What else?
Okay, I don't understand what is wrong.
The problem with Sue here is that unfortunately she's kind of high her power level.
I don't think Shu actually has a problem with disappointing rich people, so she can't argue this position because her fundamental belief is that it should be good to express the insinuated by this man, I saw a few minutes of this, and I have thoughts. Let's see how much time we make. Okay?
They're rise up and kill the rich people?
There are people that, yes, there are people that unironically believe this. Absolutely, yes, you know this, Jill.
Okay. That's a bad thing to you?
Okay. They're doing it though. They're printing like film.
Okay.
No, you're printing like food right now because I thought it was just a meme.
Look, you can take Shu on head out of the alt right, and you can't take the alt right out of Shu on head. Pepe proceed with it. Let's go.
Hello?
Hello, Jill, how are you?
Hi, how are you? How are you doing?
I am good. I'm here to be the joke police.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, but seriously, what have you been up to?
Next video. I'm excited for this. I'm not a debater, the debating, so you're really good. By the way, you're really good at debating. I need to say, like you've evolved.
That's totally true, by the way. Hunter's like form with regards to that sort of thing has grown so much. Really, really, really cool.
Like old debate bro, I was watching like your mic from PMA thing and like a whole bunch of
We saw that.
Well, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be like a debate. I think he's wrong.
He is wrong.
I'm like, maybe I have to go full debate, bro. Who knows?
Okay, yeah, you can try. I mean, it's good practice for well. I only debated Air Force ago, and that was like turning back to that.
Yeah, people are getting mad because you don't have the camera on. But sorry, guys, it's just another go. So let me give a quick rundown just for the audience. So someone tweeted, meet the revolutionary technology that can help solve the climate crisis between the team. And then I said, love it when the left advocates for violence while hiding behind the meme. Sounds really familiar, obviously talking about the alt-right. And then you said, dude, we're facing like 10 different crises happening right now. Climate growth, literally economic inequality is passive, building age, etc. Just let people punch up on Twitter, LOL, Bezos, because it's will hurt. Which is probably true. I'm sure Bezos feels all the reasons right there. But yeah, that's kind of so do you want to start, elaborate a little bit on your...
Okay, so I want to hear my intro thoughts on this because I want to like piecemeal reveal it over time. So my general approach here is sympathetic issues for this reason. So I want to kind of pull this out of play. First of all, to be clear, guillotines or any other implied violence won't solve the climate crisis is incredibly simple. The reason why we're in a climate crisis is because our economic system is designed in such a way to produce a tremendous amount of commodity, and they do so in ways that are destructive to the environment, but simply eliminating the people who are not going to actually fix that. This is one of the problems with like climate change. It's like a car going 120 down the freeway, and you have to like press control to the driver. Okay, you're shooting the driver doesn't fix anything. Then you crash into the fucking concrete wall and be done. Okay, you have to like carefully like get the wheel and it's like really complicated. So that's a really, really stupid like argument. However, antagonism against the wealthy, which is very valid, has always medically, seriously, otherwise taken the form of advocacy for violence. This is millennia old. And one of the problems that I have with this kind of advocacy that Hunter did with all the alt-right, like they post and dog whistling, whatever, is that there's a really big difference between dog whistling violence against the most powerful people on earth and dog whistling violence against like minorities. Additionally, because the reason you're dog whistling violence against the most powerful people on earth is because they're running the world into oblivion, and the reason the alt-right dog whistles violence against minorities is because they don't like them. So they're very, very different contexts and circumstances on all of this. Now, I don't want people in my community running around being this kind of dumb fuck lefties who straight away go around to talk about how like guillotining Jeff Bezos is going to fix anything because it won't. It's not I think of it a little bit the same way that I think of riots or civil rights protests. Remember my take on that? Riots aren't good. They don't fix anything. They are destructive. However, they're kind of an inevitable consequence of antagonism. In that case, the protests, and in this case, general wealthy antagonism. And to hyperfixate on condemnation of the most pernicious elements of that behavior, kind of implicitly pushes back against that. You have to be careful. I think my criticism of the guillotine rhetoric is responsible because it segments what I think is bad about it and what I think is successful about it. And I think that maybe sometimes other criticisms seem a little deceptive. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, right? That's like my broad. From an optics perspective, it does look a little bit bad that like comments like this get journalists. I don't know. The left has a hard enough time to be a news, so like kill the rich with people in the mind basically as well as people who love the like, we can't say that. But it seems like it's one of the things that we keep talking about. Some sort of stupid seeding antagonism. Again, that's not the best way of handling it. The goal would be to move them to a more responsible way of handling it. I think the language here is wrong.
Position?
So my position is basically just like, I think jokes like that should be allowed. Obviously, I don't think you are like fans, but I don't think those jokes are enough to be poisoned for anything. I actually think it's quite the opposite. I think jokes like that almost are like.
Oh, I want to say, sorry, I forgot to do that. While I do sympathize more with Shu's side of the argument on the ones that based on that. So to be clear.
Uniting in a way. I don't think there are people, unless they're like huge bootlickers, who get offended punching up at the most powerful people in the world.
Sure, so
Okay, no, you can.
I'm just gonna say like, yeah, there's a lot there. Like, first of all, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be allowed to do this. Obviously, people can mean and do whatever they want. Like, as people on this channel know, of course, like I like edgy humor and jokes. I don't have a problem with edgy jokes in general. Just jokes like this about like, especially like violence with violent students and that I kind of take issue with. So the punching up thing, that seems to be like central to the argument. That is punching up, and I do agree with you that it is obviously punching up, and there's a difference there.
Okay.
But at the same time, I would ask, where's the line there? Because, for example, you're probably fine with people making fun of you on Twitter, but I doubt you would be okay if people were consistently calling for your death on Twitter, but they could argue that you're up.
I don't necessarily like this argument. The antagonism here isn't being directed at the wealthy just because they're up. It's specifically about the ultra wealthy plutocrats responsible for climate change. So it's not just people being more powerful, it's like the agents of the planet's demise that are being referred to. I don't know if that's like a good transition. I think it's easy to draw a line between those. You could make a pretty strong argument that violence against the people responsible for climate change is self-defense. It's an argument that I've made before, Totally hypothetically, I haven't actually agreed that. But you can make that argument.
I understand what you mean.
Like they can argue you're a privileged YouTuber, you're able to have a successful career by making videos, you probably make a decent amount of money. What's stopping someone from making just about killing you? Because I would find that important.
Well, if they do it, like, but like,
That's kind of the reason from Shu. Shu obviously wouldn't care if people were saying I think that's a little bit.
I feel like there's an obvious line, right? The line is these people are basically untouchable. They're not like you, like abolish the police is kind of off the prison, right? Everyone knows a police officer. Like some police officers in your family, whatever. Nobody knows a fucking multi-billionaire. Those people aren't like us at all. They're not on the same level. Like me and you were like, regular taxpaying people. There's a huge difference between multi-billionaires, power, like people have government and stuff like that, making jokes about that, and making jokes about like any other person. Like if somebody was like talking about how they want to kill Steve Crowder, like that looks bad. That looks like he wanted to disagree with us.
But that's an arbitrary line that you're setting for us, right? Because some people might say that, well, Steve Crowder is pretty popular, so he is more powerful. He has a shit ton of influence. He's a multi-millionaire.
So Hunter is correct in this respect because people joke about fluency in product all the time. I'm on Twitter and I see it now. I think the argument here isn't really about whether or not this is acceptable, but rather how do you respond to it. Because as long as there is wealth inequality, there will be people on the bottom who want people on the top dead. Now, this is like a Twitter joke, so this isn't even like a real, this isn't even like a real expression of immediate and measurable class animals. But I think the question should be, how do we respond to this necessarily? Now, the reason why I'm kind of by default more aligned with you is because I don't want to responsibility. Whether we let advocates for violence or hiding behind things like really familiar. This is a both sides of it. This is like a central thought. But the idea, what this is essentially saying is that like all forms of signaling like violent intent or identity, which is absolutely not the case. There are huge differences, and I think this is what it takes place. Especially since this is saying like hiding behind the views. I feel like this is pretty clear, right? Like this is a really obvious. And then all the writers said he could anti-degenerate technology that could help solve the great replacement. And it was like a gas chamber. Like that's not really a problem. It's just a pretty clear signal. So I don't know if anyone's hiding behind it. It just seems like a immediate expression of the I'm really about this, but
quanto vocês estão?
appreciate it, and people just wonder why this is back and forth. Oh god.
Why can't I do it without eating him?
Okay, I don't
Second,
know.
I mean, I can go on the other, I wrote a couple things down here
But
too.
like Steven Crowder isn't, like, because we have what, the fucking climate crisis, we have a bunch of CEOs, like, no one knows the ExxonMobil CEO, they're not gonna see that tweet, they're not gonna be offended, like,
It's not
I feel like-
so I think this is another sort of potential of this career is, it's not so much just about who's going to be offended. I don't care if the see something, and I don't really shit about that. I offend people all day, every day in my shop. Like, I don't care who's offended. I'm more worried about the way that these memes, like, no, I mean, optics we can talk about that too, but I'm more worried about memes that can lead to normalization of radicalization and violence. No, not the slippery slope, as we've seen this happen in the past. So, like, the alt-right, that's why I make this comparison. They began as a fringe minority on
This is the equivalent thing. And this is just going to be a disagreement with you and I. I'm not I'd like you to be radicalized. Now, ideally, if radicalized advocates was far left, would be mindless calls for violence to up. Anything that was largely a market. But class animus does pull people over to the left. So I'm not against the radicalization. My goal would just be to find ways to challenge. I'm advocating thank you so much. Hey, hold on. He's don't like kill billionaires. That's like 400 or 500 Chinese people. Okay, calm down.
unfortunate, irrelevant, not powerful, no influence, and they were able to push their extremist and violent ideas into the mainstream by using memes. It sounds funny, I know, like, I mean, we're talking about optics, this is for the media position where I kind of look like the joking stick. So,
I know you're not.
I get that, but I also wanted to.
He is, but he admits it, and that's fine. If he can acknowledge that, that's fine. Okay, that's the position.
But lastly, just briefly, very briefly, this comes from Security Management, a publication of Security Worldwide. I can send you this study of like how means of internet irony are hijacked for radicalization. And this is talking about the alt-right. Like, I'd like to just read this to you and just kind of ask you and the audience to think, is it possible that this could apply to these type of memes as well? It says, the report, which analyzed meme and visual culture 12 chance sites from March 2020 to June 2020, found that memes are deployed to promote extremist narratives under the guise of pop cultural aesthetics, humor, and irony, thus lowering the barrier for participation. This attracts.
So this is completely true, by the way. And what Hunter is saying here is, again, 100% true. Stuff like that guillotine show do radicalize people to the left. Again, I think there's a pretty big difference between being alt-right and being radical to the left. But what he's saying here is correct. This is how online radicalization takes place. It's just a matter of whether you don't want it to happen at all, or you want it to happen responsibly, or if you really care how it's happening.
The younger generation of digital natives who may be initially drawn in by the visual culture and community component of message boards, and then slowly become more tolerant of radical and extreme ideologies. So that would be far more concern.
That joke in particular that we called out, it's structured like a TV ad, like a simple fun. Here's one simple trick every day. So the message that joke is sending isn't so much we gotta kill the people, it's pointing out that the crisis we're in is started by just a few people. So that's the joke. The joke is all this mistake to end with is just like these people.
That's okay. I guess
So this is the problem. That's of course not true. It's a systemic thing. So yeah, this would be an element of like the bad interpretation. Now, mind you, I think this joke is funny because again, it kind of seems like a TV ad. But to me, it's just an expression of general class animus, also that it is like a policy description. And I know a lot of people can see this and be motivated, like sort of a bad critical analysis. You know what I mean? I am myself a teacher, edgy jokes.
that's why it's a joke, because that's also not true at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Correct.
like if you were to kill Bezos, I wouldn't do it today.
No, I mean,
Or Exxon over people. But also, I kind of take issue a little bit with you adding this like nuance that just doesn't appear to be there. Like, it is about killing people. Like, it's a picture of ideas. That's from the French Revolution.
so the meme is spreading platforms and it's spreading like awareness to people, like, you know, this is the big issue. It's all these people in charge of the world, of the country.
But no, let's see, I would, okay.
Is so choose half of the money here. Though I would say class antagonism or class enemy or class, you know, warfare more so than class consciousness. But it is both, and you have to know it. It is true that this is also a general symbol of class antagonism. That is true. It's not. This is not. Anybody who believes that this meme is exclusively a joke about killing rich people is engaging in bad media. However, it is partially that. It is at least 50% that. So you have to acknowledge that. You seem really nervous to be it. She's just not good at debate. So I imagine that. Well, I mean, we'll see.
I guess, again, if you want to say that it's a joke because it's just a joke, it's not meant to be thought seriously, that's fine, but like, I would just disagree with that. It might be these top CEOs that are playing a huge role in the carbon emission, sure, but like, they're not just doing that for fun, there's also a demand for it. It's an entire system that's broken, you can argue, and I don't think just killing billionaires would fix anything. If we were,
You know that thing they say the top 100 companies are responsible for 70% of climate emissions? A lot of people seem to believe those climate emissions are being done for fun. Like the top 100 companies are just like for funsies. They just have some like giant coal burners. They're producing those. They're producing those carbon emissions, upholding the world economy. Not to say that that doesn't mean they're responsible or there should be the regulation or carbon taxes or whatever, but like a lot of people seem to believe that like they're doing it for fun. It's the whole system that's built around the consumption of greenhouse gases. I'm not putting blame on consumers here. I'm just saying that they're not doing it for fun. It's the system. It's not like all of these companies are run by people CEOs who do their regular economic stuff. They don't do their like free time. They like tire yards on fire, you know? That's not to say they're not bad. They are. I'm just saying that it's more to it than like the guy being bad, you know?
we're still Bezos, so it's
No, I don't think that either. I'm just saying, like,
They do
the
burn
rhetoric
fire
that
yards.
we're spreading isn't, it's not the same as the alt-right thing we're talking about. So, like, with the alt-right, I hate to punch you up in the face, I'm fine with those terms, right? So the alt-right will do it. And that's like, and I did it. That's like, you know, let's say they make a joke about women or something, and you'll do that, right? And it's like, okay, they could actually become like misogynist or whatever. What would this joke do? Like, just make people hate the most powerful people in charge? Or, like, I don't think
you're right. One, I mean, if we want to get into optics, we can talk about that, but optics is not my main concern at all. But you could argue that this does ultimately hurt your cause just from an optical perspective. You could also argue that, yeah, they might direct their anger at the wrong people. I don't think we should be reaching out at depth.
The optics thing I'm 50-50 on because, honest to God, in an era of unprecedented internet quality, I think class antagonistic stuff like this is honestly a lot more popular than people think it is. You know? I don't even think conservatives argue against mainstream. It seems like right now in America, most people despise art. Like that's a common point. And usually the people who defend the wealthy right now seem to be like neocons and neoliberals, you know? Like the kind of people who are really invested in the 401k portfolio. That seems to be the group I see angry about this stuff the most often. That's not to say there aren't potentially like negative elements to this. Only that, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
These are
This is the right now. This is absolutely
okay, but the last thing I would say also about what you all read is like punching up, punching down. Again, there is a difference there, yes. And I'm not saying that they're exactly identical. However, even if we want to look at it from a historical lens, like the French Revolution, right, that began with quote unquote punching up. It was the peasants fighting against the monarchy, if I'm not mistaken. But that led to over 17,000 people being massacred, including other peasants that just weren't on board with this revolutionary mindset. So
That's true, though I don't know if that was necessarily just because of hyperbolic class antagonism. There were a few other things going on back there, you know?
either like, oh, it's harmless just because it's punching up. History disagrees with you.
Okay, well, the contract we can do start with memes, but I know what you mean. I just don't see the harm in things like this at all. Like, okay, Trevor Moore can literally just passed away 2 weeks ago. He one of his greatest sketches is like I think it's the song called "It's Time for Guillotines," right? Like, it's a good sketch, it's a good song, right? Like, are you gonna be like, oh, excuse me, Trevor Moore, this is a little awful, this is bad. Like, I just these are the easiest for it's like babies first political humor, right?
But I disagree with that. Well, why? That shouldn't be. That like
Yeah, this is why I have to play against them to this time. Unfortunately, see, this is okay. I'm just going to say this once, and then I think most of the arguments you make are I need to this too, okay? This is a very common liberal mindset, okay? It's the idea that the only kind of violence is direct political violence, systemic violence. Antagonism against the upper class can sometimes lead to bad negative externalities or consequences leading to catastrophic death. However, the consequence of our current class system and inequality of it is literally tens of thousands of people. You could make an argument, like, look, if you could do the math, say you could propagate one of anti-racism, that would lead to like a couple of horrible, regrettable incidents where wealthy people were killed by lunatic people. But the class antagonism produced by those things end up leading to public support for a bill that leads to better health care, thus saving hundreds of thousands of lives every single year. Now, this is obviously an incredibly simplistic and reductive sort of assessment of the situation. But the argument that a lot of socialists make is that the current system right now and its preservation are violent. That there's violence happening right now, second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, every day, every year, all the time, in degrees and extents almost incomprehensible to us as individuals. And that so often pushing back against that violence is decried because comparatively insignificant violence is produced as a product of that pushback. This is what people said about like the riots and the protests of the civil rights, that what peace could be worth this when the cities burned and protested. Well, in reality, it did everything, and Black Lives Matter ends up leading to the dying. But I would say Black Lives Matter was the best. In any instance where action against an unjust system leads to harm, you must weigh that against the potential of real systemic change. And that's something that I often feel is that takes into account. It's exclusively an analysis of the minutiae, of the granular, of the implicit. Now, that's not to say any violence ever is justified because it might be just something good. It's just a complicated equation. And I'm thinking about it, like, how many major civil rights movements or social reformations were ever fought for without, not just without blood, but without, like, severe antagonism against the oppressor, you know? It seems to me like this is a pretty historically consistent component of any push to a better world, and the goal should be not to say that, like, Trevor Moore's guillotine song is bad, but rather to find ways to channel this metal component of class antagonism in the most effective and moral way possible. Well, so basically the answer as a consequence is yes, that's always how I accept it. Does that make sense to everyone? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Right? I'm just saying, it's a big equation. Sometimes you can step back from the whiteboard and see all the numbers. Now, that again, doesn't mean everything is defensible, and I know that because I do know a lot of lefties who take shit like this seriously, and people try to get that too. It's just complicated.
I mean, you need to explain to me why you think that it's not harmful if we saw the same thing happen with the alt-right. If we are able to see something as harmless, like, remember Pepe the Frog? Like, all these harmless sort of ideas that allow the alt-right to actually sneak their extremist ideology.
You actually believe Pepe the Frog?
No, I'm using that as an example of how they were able, it's a known fact on how the alt-right was able to use memes as their
funny. So how about we be funny?
So maybe we should be funny for the right reasons.
Guys,
But don't you realize
you don't pull out on the left.
that's not what I'm saying. That is. I'm trying to explain why this is.
Lost Lawrence Sutter for the settlers' responsibility for the Yeah. Hey guys, the stochastic terrorism I inspire is justified because it's pushing people towards an ethno state, so it's all worth it. What? Oh, it couldn't have. The goals he was pushing for did not justify the means. The ends don't always justify the means. The ends actually have to be better than the crossing of means. I don't think an ethno state is something worth dying for. I actually think the opposite. I think fighting against it.
Leads to very, like, how this can lead to harm. The thing that this could ultimately lead to could be someone taking out actual violent action against, I don't know, a wealthy person. Maybe they're thinking it's punching up. Like, I don't know, how would you?
You're literally doing the slippery trick. You're literally doing the slippery trick. But what is your argument? I'm actually not understanding.
Okay, my argument is
So, yeah, should be able to understand the argument.
there's certain means, right? Certain forms of media, people would argue, that can lead to the normalization of harmful.
Gosh, yes, don't you be lost with your outcomes if you just by what? Guys, consequentialism doesn't even justify anything. Guys, I'm going to consequence with the whole thing. I have whole videos on that. Okay, for anyone who's new, okay, they oncologists believe that actions are good or bad based on principally on the whole, and consequentialists believe that they're totally lost. So, who are consequentialists and who justify the means? Because if the ends are good enough, it can go away and not be that one. This is not the same as Michael and I praise the fact that it has nothing to do with Michael and I. Literally nothing to do whatsoever. They're completely different things. I don't know why you're saying that. If you want, you can go like look up consequentialism on like Wikipedia and stuff. I'm not trying to be patronizing, but this is something that I talk about. Yeah, eye for an eye is a damn philosophy about what consequentialists think about it. And intent can be useful to understand so far as it influences our belief in person's feelings to do again. There's some complicated stuff. The ends justify the means to include some stuff. Okay? If the ends justify the means to do something. Okay, wait, first of all, deontological arguments led to crusade. Okay? I don't want to get okay, hold on. First of all, the majority of warfare throughout human society, the majority of conflict has been deontological, okay? Deontology is generally derived, at least historically, from divine command theory, which has been a justification for ungodly amount of destruction all over time, okay? You have to have consequentialism. Like, just because there's some fucking Marvel movies, and you're like, well, Thanos is consequentialism. Which, by the way, not really no ego. Everybody's convincing arguments for this solution being effectively reducing the consequences for that stuff. So don't come at me with that, okay? I understand you've watched a lot of like the fucking PG-13 movies where the villain does something terrible, and then the good guys like they can't do that, and the villain's like the ends justify the means, and then they like launch the nuclear missile at the factory. Just good. That's it. Yeah, please.
Full and extremist ideas. For example, there's a really, can I explain? There's a really interesting study where they took women and they showed these women movies about a stalker boyfriend, and then they were found that after women viewed that content, they were more likely to accept stalker behavior in their real life. Media can normalize certain ideas, even on a subconscious level. This is a fact. You know, like this is inarguable. So all I'm saying
He's completely correct on this. 100%.
is when you're making memes like this over and over again, you are softening people to radical, extremist, and violent ideas that wouldn't fix our problems. And also, you're providing a safe space, more or less, for tankies and other radicals.
Well, that's probably the biggest people in the world. So that's the.
They can hate those people, but I'm talking about the way that this can normalize extremist beliefs, violent beliefs that really go to solve our problems.
What did you think about the?
So, just out of curiosity, if this meme was true and your community rich did solve climate change, this 100 and so good, like you'd be saving the whole planet for the lives of like how many people? I wonder if Hunter's problem with this is principle or consequential. Like, is it because this doesn't work that he has a problem with it? I genuinely wonder about that. You know? I wonder about
The joke of just the rocket exploding and everyone like taking jokes like that and wanting to have the type of thing with the joke team.
I mean, I'm not a fan of advocating for violence. I think that ultimately it just hurts your cause.
Okay, Bezos' rockets. Joking about Bezos' rocket exploding is call for violence. I don't think there's any way that like an angry lefty could make the rocket explode. That just seems, yeah, I don't know if that's a call for violence. Call for violence.
Okay, like I don't know. I feel like these are just very level one jokes and people are untouchable. It's just such an easy thing. You can't get any more punches off of them. Like, and Blackbeard's not the only one making them, but these are such. This is such a.
Do you think there are any people that look at this and actually believe that people are decent?
I'm sure there are people.
Would that be a comment in your mind?
If people want to Bezos, I don't know, yeah, I guess so. But like, listen.
Because I mean, there are other creators, like even the Amazing Atheists, saying unironically that they have to pretend they're joking about this stuff, otherwise they'll get banned for violating POS. I have a screenshot right here.
Okay.
Oh, he's got the
So
receipt.
there are people that don't just look at this as a meme LOL. There are people that look at this and it's playing a role in normalizing this idea that we should actually go out and murder rich people.
Do you think that we have the ability to do that? Do you think we have the ability to?
So yeah, the problem here is that she wasn't actually responding to a fundamental argument that Hunter's making. Now, there is some proof to Shu's point here that the ability to commit violence against the wealthy is incredibly marginal compared to the ability for the alt-right to commit violence against minorities, because minorities are everywhere and by their definition socially disempowered, and the wealthy are few and by definition quite powerful. But she's not really responding to the fundamental arguments Hunter is making here.
So like up in multi-billionaires take them out?
It doesn't have to be multi-billionaires. You said it yourself that it's a class struggle. It could simply just be someone who's more well off. It normalizes violent extremism at the end of the day. And also, it's just that, like, I walked away from.
Well, also going to take the issue that nobody can define violence. That's true. Well, again, it gets more complicated when you factor in the existence of systemic violence and the broader sort of, complication. And there are, okay, just a really good analogy, like to get your mind sharing on this if you don't understand what I mean, okay? Let's say you have a foreign country. It's not our country, okay? It's called baby town. It's just called that. It's a very small country. It's just one town, okay? And it doesn't have much in the way of like effective legal structure. And there's a proper there. okay, who controls a lot of industry, and the robber barons' economic and employment policies lead to a lot of people dying on the factory floor, okay? They die, they get scooped up, they get burned, a lot of people die because of this guy's desire for the constant accumulation of wealth, okay? Now, you know this guy's son, who had inherited his property, is less than us, that you killed that guy. Would that murder be justified because the employment policies of his son were almost guaranteed to be less destructive than those of the father? Or alternatively, is it unethical to not do so, knowing that you're perpetuating more death just because you don't want to save your hands? Or alternatively, how do you feel about people calling for the death of that person with full knowledge that there would be a consequence of doing so, even if they have to sort of scattershot antagonism against the wealthy and might end up leading to antagonism against other groups? The honest answer to these questions, from my perspective, is it's really complicated. And the reason why it's complicated is because all of these actions, all of their consequences reverberate beyond interpersonal engagement, one act of violence between one worker and one business owner. So it's just something to keep in mind. Does that make sense? This is legit. Anybody who has an incredibly strong hardline response to this, I feel is almost an idea. Boss, you just created a precedent with okay to murder someone without so no, consequentialism allows for laws. No, you can have a consequential benefit of broadly making murder illegal, and then consequential benefits of understanding the various thresholds by which that will not be acceptable. If you're James Bond and you don't have license to kill one person but fire a dude with great rest, you probably have a moral obligation to shoot the person with a finger over that, even if it's illegal to murder, but I would still defend the fact that it's illegal to murder them. Please. I feel like every time we talk about this stuff, I end up getting hardcore sunlocked. I'm like, a lot of people really think that consequentialism, a lot of people's understanding of consequentialism genuinely does not extend beyond like a couple of movies where they've seen really bad things to justify it through like, that's justify the means, you know? The funny thing is that heroes in movies do hence justify the means arguments all the time, they just never quote them, you know? Alright.
From the far right. And I don't like seeing the left engage in the same kind of bullshit. There are better ways
To me, it's the same, but
well, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, we've seen it. It's like the same video. Consequently, it makes eugenics valid, though. Oh my God! You don't please. This is an entire ethical theory. For hundreds of years, philosophers have talked about that. You are not ethically. But please, just think for a second. If you have a Twitch chat or site chat just for consequentialism, and without even thinking about it, you have ethically owned centuries of philosophical precedent. How arrogant do you have to be to be like, oh yeah, well, consequently, I haven't read anything about it, but you know, it sounds pretty dumb. Come on.
No, because you said you're fine with either.
Yeah.
So could you see how like Holocaust denialism jokes could lead to the normalization of like, yeah, maybe the Holocaust is hoax?
sure.
So, well,
But this joke, the guillotine joke is more on the level of the joke where it's like commentated with a gun. Because it's against the government, against the people with power to murder. The fucking
That's actually a good analogy. The come and take it flags, you know, like, come take my guns, I'll use them on you. That's comparable because while it is technically a threat of violence, it's more of a broader expression of political antagonism on certain lines. I think that's a better analogy than the Holocaust denial.
Holocaust, what is that? That's like making fun of victims, survivors. That's like a different thing.
it could be different, but just if one is worse than the other doesn't mean the other one's therefore good. It's just it doesn't work like that. One could be worse, but I mean at the end of the day, the thing is you're taking the position that all of those jokes are completely fine.
Every joke is fine.
I do not endorse Shoes' opinion on this.
I joke about whatever you want. As long as it's clever and around 6,000 and you can say being messy, but you can like make he says his joke about the 6 million cookies or whatever. Like he got banned for that or something. Like that's like awful, but it's so good.
No, let's see that right there.
Yeah, I don't endorse this. So, Shoes' position here is essentially that, like, you aren't responsible for the language, for what you're saying, as long as you frame it for a joke. And I think that's indefensible. if you did, like, you would pick any political position and you could just slightly reword it and make it a joke, and then you could get away with that. But also, I think she was of the opinion that there should be, like, no website viewers or anything. Well, if you're consequential, would you agree that all jokes are okay with those? Oh my god. Just go to, what is it, sanford.plato.edu or something? The Plato Library, what is it called? Please just look up consequences. I can't do this thing, okay? Please.
I think Nick Frenchman himself has already admitted publicly that you have to hide behind irony.
Yeah.
Like, so you're getting arguments that are defeating your own point. You're getting the arguments of people that are actually getting
different things. There's two different things.
no, you're getting the examples of people that are actually pushing forward radical ideas under the guise of it's just a meme, it's just a joke, bro.
What is wrong with? Okay, I don't understand what is wrong.
The problem with Shu here is that, unfortunately, she's kind of high her power level. I don't think Shu actually has a problem with just killing rich people, so she can't argue this position because her fundamental belief is that it should be good to express the political consequences. Singularly, you know?
About like joking about killing the most powerful people in the country. I don't understand
because it can normalize violent extremism, and also
for people who aren't the most powerful people in the country. Like
because
that's what
it would you be like. Yeah, so what? They're more powerful again.
Also, she was expressing a fundamental inconsistency here. On one hand, she said that she's okay with all jokes, punching up or punching down, but she's making the argument that this is justifiable because it's a joke that punches up, which is a little bit odd, you know? Like, does she think that contributes to sensibility, or is that incidental, or...
We want to look at the French Revolution and how that began. That began with punching up, and it eventually led to so much, like 700,000 people getting
the people want to punch. They're either going to punch down or they're going to punch up. So I'd rather them punch up.
There is a root to this. While highly productive, there is a root to that. That in times of social antagonism, people do tend to direct their antagonism somewhere. And you guys have probably noticed this, America is flipped pretty hard at people who hate the rich and people who hate the black. You know? Some hate both. We don't talk about that.
But sort of that. I think I have more faith in people.
What can we do? Like everyone just wants to cope. Everyone's depressed. Everyone's
so okay, you have the doomer mindset where okay, so there's the doomer mindset, which is let's just joke about killing rich people and that does nothing at all. Or we can actually talk about real policy positions. But I know that we do both. I think that you can make jokes about it, sure, but I don't think making jokes about killing people is necessary. And then if we want to talk about optics,
so the question isn't whether or not it's necessary. The question is, what should we do when it inevitably happens? Because you're never going to keep people from making death threats or like death jokes about it. That's movies. I swear to God, you can probably find like in like the ruins of Pompeii, you can probably find like ancient clips of people shit talking about that. I feel like this is a useless thing. The question is, how do you channel that antagonism? When it happens, how do you respond? And I don't think Hunter's response to it was appropriate when they said, this is just like a white guy. I don't know if that's what people think, you know?
So there is a level of optics there that I think is important too, because climate change is such a big and serious issue. It demands unity. It demands that we are all working together here. And
I do not think of a more uniting thing than joking about
really, do you think that maybe moderates would be uncomfortable? Do you think people that are permanently online might be a little uncomfortable with jokes about guillotining the rich and guillotining Bezos?
Honestly, I feel like they're kind of popular right now. I mean, to be fair, like, Hunter has used an example of this working in the past, the French Revolution. In the French Revolution, it's not like every French peasant was some, like, was some, like, radical anti-monarchist. But, you know, apparently there is some pull to just fervent hatred against the wealthy. I don't know. Maybe there were studies on someone.
Okay, I have a lot of right wingers in my audience, and I talked to them about this, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's fine. You can joke about like in the rich, like in the rich, whatever. It's fine. Like everyone, like most people are fine with this level of Or you know,
That's fine, that's,
She probably thinks I was fucked up.
most people are consistent, so I don't care if most people are fine with it. What comes right here is, you do not become a different version of a human from people on the right. This worked on the alt-right, it worked before in pushing forward extremist ideas into mainstream under the guise of irony and humor and makes people this plausible ability.
but the right extremism is like, this is a straw man, obviously, but like, you know, kill black people or whatever. And the left extremism is kill the most powerful fucking people in
I'm not
our
saying they're identical. I'm not saying they're
But then why do you worry about left extremism?
The culture has to acknowledge that not only are they not identical, they are like opposite. You do have to acknowledge that. It's not like, oh yeah, one's a little better than the other. These are radically different kinds of extremism and antagonism. You know, that is important to keep in mind. I feel like Hunter doesn't want to say they're the same, but he doesn't want to go too far. You know, you do have to be clear with that.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not that. Wait, you said it yourself. I can be worried about stuff. Okay. And also, when you use meetings like this, you're providing a safe space for other radicals. You're providing a safe space for communities. Like, if you think about it, I look at myself as an example of this. I had right wing.
I don't know. I don't think this is the right use of the term tankies because, I mean, I don't think that tankies are the loudest, like, anti-rich group necessarily. It just seems like a general left thing. Why are you afraid to say yes to the easy question? I answered like 6 of them, and also the same thing people think all the time. And also, some of these questions are like, this is like what, like what? Like, why is your understanding of consequences being teached right now? On, you're not even talking about it. Like, you're just thinking about this. But it's not good. Oh, I look at one of this framework. You really learn about this stuff, you know? You don't have to agree with it. I do with it. You know, that's fine. You're probably the same actual life values and that's probably the greatest stuff.
In general, I was never all-right. I was never a neo-Nazi. But I think that all-righters and neo-Nazis felt really comfortable in my audience. And I don't want to cultivate an audience like that. I don't want authoritarianism. I don't want extremism.
I don't think this is extremism, though. This is like, again, this is basic humor. Like, this is like, I don't know what else to compare it to. Again, it's almost like unspeakable. It's just a level of thinking up that doesn't have really a comparison.
I think I do agree with you though that like jokes about like I could be wrong. I don't know if I'm necessarily one of the jokes themselves. Maybe the joke is about an extreme approach, but the jokes themselves I've seen them be appreciated fairly modestly. Unless I massively misread it. The implication of the joke is an extreme one, but it's abstracted to the general political animus, and it seems like it's enjoyed by people who
And with the right, I just don't know if you can really appeal that comparison when you're okay with either, so it doesn't really matter in my mind.
Because I'm just okay with jokes in general. I'm fine with them.
Okay, and that just is ignoring the reality in the way that media
What's
can
your
normalize.
conclusion, though? What's the conclusion?
My conclusion is let's take a break from making jokes about murdering people and then giving ourselves this plausible deniability and saying, oh, it's just a joke, bro.
We're at,
Instead, actually, yeah.
we're at like the peak of like just this empire crumbling, right? This is like Rome is about to fall. I think people can't talk about this shit. Like especially right now, my audience, again, with right wingers and left wingers uniting with like Jeffrey goes, oh, I hope this rocket explodes. It's fucking hilarious. I'm fine with it, and I think that.
I don't know, you can just if you're uniting on certain causes, I think that's really dangerous territory.
But there is an underlying kernel of truth to this, but I don't think Shu is ethically grounded enough to be able to make the argument. The idea that Shu is making is that, yes, memes like this do push people a bit towards extremism. However, that's fine because things are in a bad situation. We need as many people as possible to unite behind these ideas. Shu's essentially making the argument. I think the implicit argument that Shu is making is that while there are negative consequences to this, they're superseded by the positive consequences of uniting people around antagonism against the wealthy is kind of unprecedented wealth inequality. Wouldn't Nazis just say Jews are the most powerful in the world? Guys, consequentialism doesn't mean you can just make any claim and then be correct, okay? Yeah, and there are crazy people who think that, like, lizards run the world, but that wouldn't make it good for them to run around killing everyone they thought was a lizard. Stop how it works. We all believe in self-defense, right? Does that mean that you think it's okay to kill anyone who looks at you funny if you sincerely believe that it's self-defense? No, deception is not the only measure by which we determine the validity of action. We also have to go by general social standards and not the factors of here.
You could argue that you could unite with the far right on certain aspects. You want to, no, if you want to talk about killing the rich people, well, the right believes that, well, not the right, sorry, the alt-right, or neo-Nazi, they tend to believe that the very rich are hellish. Like you're fighting with demon like that. Just because it's a demon doesn't mean that it's a good thing. I just think that we should, for me, as you gotta understand, my goal at the end of the day is to pull people away from extremism. I don't want people to.
No, he's right. He's pointing out that just agreeing over hating rich people doesn't mean that they're going to agree on like effective and pragmatic ways to do it. That is, there are tons of alt-writers who have hate Bezos because they think he's like a Jew. That is true.
To be extreme left or extreme right. I want people to be rational centrists, enlightened centrists, that's right. And I think that just using jokes like this and humor like this, not only does it push people away, it's just kind of unfortunate because it seems really inconsistent. We like the right talks so much about the way that the alt-right was using memes and everything else, and then now they're doing the exact same thing.
Well,
I don't like this argument because the issue wasn't the issue with that behavior wasn't the memes and the dog whistling. The issue was what the memes and the dog whistling were leading to. I don't have a problem with memes and dog whistling on their own. The dog whistling kind of inherently dishonest, so I think that the implementation shows the problem is what it's leading to. And the alt-right was people who really liked hats, and they would post memes about how non-hat wearers are dumb, and dog whistle that hat wearers are fakes. Like, it's what it leads to. I mean,
using edgy and funny memes, I think that
I like using edgy and funny memes too, but we're not talking about just edgy and funny memes. We're talking about edgy and funny memes that are specifically violent in nature and normalize and soften the idea of violence towards individuals.
I don't understand how to argue it. It's just like, I'm fine with these jokes, and I think.
I just haven't thought about this enough to understand the way that there have been a few points where my person is choose one type thing. Overall, I think there's been just one case for the
If anything, they're more, like, you say you don't want people united with this, but I think it's fucking cool.
I didn't say that either. It's fine.
I don't hate the same people. I don't know.
So basically, like, I have some studies here, some pretty solid historical and empirical evidence to support my claim, but I feel like your claim is just you like memes, and that's
no. Hunter's argument here is good. Hunter's argument is that stuff like this normalizes violence, which is an objective case, even though it's hard to violence directly against people who are the fact of the matter is basically the accountability. Yes, it does lead to people being radicalized in violence. But you can't acknowledge that and then make an argument for why that's better for us. You kind of struggles between saying it doesn't really have an effect on the jokes and saying, well, it doesn't matter because we're unprecedented. I think people would actually have a strong argument.
Yeah. I mean, like, what else can you say though? Like, I'm trying to think what else I want to say though. Like, again, people just want to put up. Like, we punch down in our careers, right? We still sometimes punch down when we get to, like, I'm Twitter people.
I'm not talking about punching up and punching down. I'm talking about violence specifically. Memes that are, again, normalized violent ideology. Why? If it was able to work with the alt-right, why couldn't it work in this area also?
Well, we're gonna fucking rise up and kill the rich people?
There are people that, yes, there are people that ironically believe this. Absolutely, yes, you know this, Jill.
Okay.
See, again, shoot. Okay, wait, hold on.
That's a bad thing to you?
Yeah, she already wasn't doing good in the argument here, but this might as well just be a concession.
Okay, so you're doing it though. You're pretty much doing it.
Okay.
No, you're picking my point right now because I thought it was just me.
It is.
Yeah, no. So having argued with enough alt-writers to identify this, what she was doing here is nervously recognizing that the argument is not going great for her. So she obfuscates the degree of seriousness with which she's arguing for it by making a joke and leaving it up in the air. Like, yeah, it's a dishonest and largely reprehensible tactic, but I imagine you would
However, you're actually kind of okay with it. You leave yourself into the right position too.
I'm just saying, if we all put each other all together, let them write help him, and really do it to their favorite method. I'm just saying, if we kind of do it. You don't even have to come out of the method. I'm saying it would be a good, some good symbolism. That's all I'm saying.
Alright.
No, okay, I'm serious. I don't think there's anything wrong with joking about these things, but I don't know how to argue, because, like,
But now nobody would ever take any argument she makes seriously because we know it's not joking.
it's just, I don't know, we, again, we're at the same topic, we're coming to a peak, and I feel, and we're,
And you think that
these
maybe
people are,
is what's necessary.
these people are villains, they're just story of our country, they're
Why do you think there's
just
so many countries? You think there's a demand for that? For some of the goods that they're providing, that the way of providing those goods, they're also destroying the world?
like, plastic people?
Like, do you believe, well, I'm getting into something deeper here, which is like a broken system where maybe individuals aren't necessarily who you should be mad at, but rather the system. Don't have a conversation about police.
Yeah. So capitalism, is that what you're getting?
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. If you wanna like be upset about something, then why not rage against the system and not like actually the individuals? Like you could argue that they themselves are products of that system.
Okay. I don't know how to argue against it. So, okay, this is anti-capitalism mean though, that's what this is, it is criticizing the system.
It's not.
It's not?
Because,
Okay.
because the way
It's 50-50. It is general class sadness. However, it's also obviously a form of violence. There are elements of both you have to move on. I think after having seen pretty much all of today, because it's almost done, I think it's pretty clear that Hunter won. The only disagreement that I would really have with Hunter is I think some degree of equivocation, and also I think it's interesting having a talk. Maybe we can talk sometime about structural violence, and question about the extent to which the radicalization of the population can be justified. I think there's validity to that. Shu's position on this is more like so that would probably be worth. I feel like I would have like I feel like I like talking with Hunter would be a combo and talking to Shu would be really constructive. There are underlying truths to what you were saying. Like, they are just very bad rhetoric and like fairly stuck in opinion.
well, in the way that it's criticizing the system, it's let's kill rich people, which I disagree with that. I think that we've seen this happen with the alt-right. I think that we should. I see it, I'm against my audience in this one too. My audience doesn't agree with this.
Okay.
Either, but you know what? I take consistency really seriously, and this is a like major inconsistency that I'm seeing on the left. But either way, if you want to go into the, if you want to go into
It's just a matter of being able to practice it. I'll see what it's necessarily about. Oh, hey, Hunter. Oh my God, I didn't see you chat. Jesus, fucking gave me a heart attack. Howdy. Yeah, I think, no, I think you did a good job arguing. And I think that if I was a liberal, I wouldn't necessarily, I'm not saying it's obviously. I think that this type of market, we know your position about solid. She was very strict with this.
maybe like a opposing statement.
I don't know if it makes me sound edgy and radical or whatever, but I'm on the opinion of the people in charge of the country should do. I think that's the government should give the people and the people power to do.
I would agree with you completely. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that needs to be done by
Okay.
I mean, you can make the same argument about president.
Okay. I don't know. I just think that it is sort of still policing. You're worried about optics because you're comfortable with
I'm not worried about optics. I barely did an optics argument this entire time. I think there's an argument to be made on the basis of optics, but I don't think that's the strongest argument. I think the strongest argument is ultimately the same way that people alt-right was able to hijack internet irony in order to radicalize people.
Mas agora,
Ideologies. I see no reason why people on the left are somehow.
That is true, right? Really bad thing optics in this conspiracy theory. That really matters. When I'm looking at an argument, let's say or something, what I'm mostly looking for is
anda cá, cão.
and even if I agree, like, principally with one person more, the thing is, I don't really agree with Shu. I agree with myself making Shu up. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not agreeing with Shu here. It'd be like if I transpose myself into this conversation and make the argument the way I would, then I would agree with myself. Which I always agree.
Só é que lembrei, o dia em que nós chegamos, não dá para fazer a festa, temos de festejar. Quando for de segurança, nós chegamos no dia da reunião.
What is the worst that would happen? A lot, right?
That's not even a yet.
Eu vai ficar chateada a pensar que a gente faltou um dia deles não.
What will happen?
I don't know. Who knows?
Mas a gente faz uma surpresa e eu esqueço.
Then that would probably fail. I don't fucking know. All right. Hey, I appreciate you coming up.
I hope that no bridges are burnt here. I don't want to sound like we're whatever. I want to see what conversations between them because they both changed so much since 2016 that it's just kind of fun. I don't know, like, we're all on a different field. Hunter, really? Wait, guys.
Que é às 5, né? É às 5. Também vou um bocadinho antes.
That's what's happened before. I've said that. You can't get mad at 100% that when I've said that. I've made that pledge before. Look, okay, it's talking about how attempts at communist revolutions have failed is like saying you can't do it, okay? You can do it if you're a socialist and not do it, all right? And I'm not giving Hunter the communism failed pass, okay? I get to say it because it's like an injury thing. Anyway, I feel like my problem with this whole discussion is that somebody told me to put one 30-second segment of this and describe me an argument I don't believe. So keep an eye out for that. Altogether, I'm glad they had a conversation. See if we can get to the bottom of this situation. It seems like some similar arguments go on here against Pepe. Yeah, it should be noted, I don't like Pepe posted at all. While I don't think it's inherently morally wrong, I think there's probably good we go out really bad outcomes.
Espetas como isto está a ficar. Espeta aqui. Espeta aqui se puderes. A diferença é que faz uma unha geométrica. Estás a ver? Agora que já temos.
Não ias fazer prédios ou não sei o quê?
E atrás.
Ok.
Porque eu tenho que tratar da imagem e projetar. Se fizer aqui atrás. Aqui vai estar no branco, vai estar no branco.
Eu não tinha paciência nenhuma de outra coisa.
Eu odeio fazer esta parte. É melhor. Só que eu sei que vai fazer muito bem. Vocês têm ideia. Temos ao final. Mas há aqui uma parte no meio que é esta. Que é tensa, mas pronto, vai ficar bem.
Certo. Já fica bem, mas vamos ver.
Não, eu também estou a fazer um quadro particularmente trabalhoso, não é?
Certo, mas isso é mesmo chato.
É um bocado.
Nem que tu soubesse que ia ficar a melhor cena do mundo, eu tinha paciência.
Eu assim tenho paciência. Devia até ter mais, mas tenho. Até já. Jung, a gente já vai ter com mãe. Jung. Jung.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about hindsight because a lot of people seem to be misunderstanding that phrase hindsight is 20/20. Maybe they don't get the meaning of that. Because there's a whole lot of people providing that, saying that if I was in charge, I would have done it this way. I would have done that. I alone would have found some way to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Most of them, in fact, all of them, as far as I know, are just making it. Unless whoever this commentator is can point to an estimate that they made before the national government started falling. That says they believe the national government is going to fall in 2 weeks. What they're saying is based solely on the fact that they know what happened. It's easy to make decisions after the fact. Okay, if you watch this channel and you only get this kind of news from here, you probably have a pretty negative view of how long the national government is going to last. Right? Because I was incredibly skeptical of the official estimates. However, it is really important to note that most estimates have the national government lasting 60 days from now. They're still in power 60 days from now. That is the overwhelming majority of estimates. That's the limit of the overwhelming majority of estimates. Okay? So let's say, hypothetically speaking, that somebody did send up an estimate that was 30 days or 2 weeks, I don't know. Right? If you were the person making decisions, is that the one you would go with? Would you go with the outlier? Or would you go with the giant stack of estimates that said 30 days? Realistic. As far as I know, there is not a single person that can point to their estimate saying the national government is over the last 2 weeks. Without knowing that ahead of time, you wouldn't base your decisions on the idea that the national government is going to collapse in 2 weeks because you didn't know. Even with that in mind, most of the I would have done this things, they don't even make sense. They're kingdom comes on the thing and stuff like that. There is one question that keeps getting brought up that I think in the future is going to be debated. I think in the future people are going to be like, what about this? This is something we could really understand. So we're going to go through it. It's about holding on to Boggle, which is an airbase. The idea is that it is incredibly defensive. So we're going to kind of go through the discussion about holding on to this and see if that was the decision that might have been made. Okay, so the first thing you have to know about Boggle is that it isn't run by the embassy. It's an hour and a half away down a pretty notorious road. In fact, if you want to know how notorious, I have a tweet about mentioning this. Go read the comments from the people who have been on. Most of them don't see the differences between because they're brilliant. Okay, so the first scenario is that for whatever reason, you know that this is going to happen. So you're going to hold on to both of them. The capital and Boggle. Realistically, you don't have a troops to defend. The idea that Boggle and the capital can be held, that's not a thing. To be completely honest, we're not holding either of them. They're not really trying to dislodge us. So you can't hold them both. Okay, so then let's close up shop in the capital. So, all right, so how do you start that? You surrender the embassy and that American flag down, and right now people are getting tense. Because they don't like the idea of surrender. They're looking for a victory in a withdrawal. Doesn't exist. So, we close down this, close up shop. And we move it to Bogler, an hour and a half outside of town. What about all those American spenders? When it's time to leave because things go bad, well, they have to drive an hour and a half across a pretty notorious piece of road. And if you're planning this and you don't know what's going to happen, you have to assume that there's going to be conflict along that road. And all you can picture in your head is a bunch of videos of American civilians surfacing online holding newspapers. Okay, so we can't do that. We're not going to leave the civilians in the capital city and maintain our presence at all. Let's move the civilians down. Makes sense. We can do it that way. All right. So we move them in. All the civilians that didn't really want to leave or for whatever reason didn't, they're now positive. Most of them didn't want to leave because they had a job there. So now we're actually driving down that notorious piece of the road. We're back to them holding newspapers. Doesn't seem to be. And then you get to the idea of what about all of the Afghan nationals who get to? They have to make it down with them too. There is a lot of wisdom in the idea of shifting operations to Mali. Because it is way more than those. Way more than this. But unless you know the exact scenario that's going to play out, then you wouldn't when you made this decision. Most things are going to tell you not to do it. The difference between this and most of the I would have done it this way is that in the future, this is going to be the way. In the future, years from now, people are going to talk about this, and it might shift the way the United States does. Because maybe the idea of remote work, these contractors, maybe they could have worked remotely. The embassy could have been there, maybe helicopters. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can be hot washed after. But unless you know the exact scenario that's going to play out, and you know the day, you wouldn't perceive this as a good move because of the road that had to be present. And the fact that people are saying this and pushing this idea on the day that a group made a move at the airport, that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it doesn't put a whole lot of faith in their ability to get addressed. Because that group, I think they would definitely be stopping some calls on that. Hindsight is 2020. That's not an encouragement to provide. That's a way of saying that it's easy to know what's going to happen once you already saw it happen. There are those who are saying that, well, intelligence should be like that. And yeah, I know a lot of science. You know that if you watch this channel. At the same time, it's not a crystal ball. You have been providing your best estimate. That's why they're called estimates. They're not accurate. They're not really accurate all the time. Even if you're really good, you're going to set them up. I don't think that the I would have done it this way type of stuff is beneficial. And I don't think it should carry any weight unless the person can point to them previously said that the national government was going to follow them to it. Because that changed everybody's operational code. Nobody expected that. Nobody saw that coming, at least as far as I know. And unless you know that, the moves that people are suggesting don't make sense. Most of them don't make sense, even if you did know. So when it comes to this topic, there is one thing that's important about it. The preservation of human life. Period. Full stop. That's it. That's all that matters. Is getting people out. There is no way that this was going to turn into a U.S. victory. It was withdrawal. It was a withdrawal. It was a withdrawal that was negotiated a long time ago. There isn't a way to walk away with this red and black and having ticker tape parades. It's not how it's going to look. It's never going to look that way. The hindsight stuff isn't important because it's distracting from the actual important thing, which is saving lives. And that's what needs to be occurring. That's it. Nothing else matters. Believe that when I say the people that really understand this stuff, they're going to be debating, accepting, and discussing this for the next 20 years. You're probably not going to find a lot on your favorite network that's going to matter. Anyway, it's just a thought. Gotta get that.
Hello.
Oh, right, that sounds, I don't know, that's quite good here.
You all hear me okay?
Yeah.
How are we all doing, Charles?
Good. So why don't you all introduce yourselves? Jeff and Mildred and Sam, you all do tend to dogs, right? Sure. I'm sorry, that's like happy to. Happy to that stuff. Okay. Well, left the screen. Hey, I'm here. Ah, you're great. You're all computers. Some, more famous, obviously Jeff, that's one of us, more famous, big celebrity. Happy to be here. I don't know what book we're reading today. I haven't sandbagged any of you with it. I'm not swear that I'm not surprising you something with this. Oh, wait. I've just been reminded, my partner reminded me just before I went live. I need you all to promise something that none of you want to kill Caleb. This is really important. This is a serious concern. And we all need to be clear about this, that none of us want Caleb Morton dead.
Yeah, and my heart goes out to him for the harassment he suffered. Like, for example, when he talked about people recognizing him places and asking him to leave other places.
That does sound fine.
It's a nightmare. Never wanted that.
For sure.
Every job here, right on.
So, today, we're reading a book that Caleb wrote a while ago. And it's, well, I don't know. So it's called Satan at the Fountainhead, the Israel Lobby, and the Financial Crisis.
Which is a title you need to like digest. I feel the second one is pretty interesting. There's a lot going on in that title. Mildred, maybe you have like more like experience with like. Have he? I'm unclear what his defenses or like denials or anything around this book are. Like I saw someone saying something, but I wasn't sure if he actually said it. It was a claim to do with like. So basically, I heard that he wanted this book to be inaccessible because some people told him that it could be perceived as anti-Semitic. Possibly. Have you heard that?
No, though I will say it wouldn't be the first time that Caleb has lent some of his considerable respectability to anti-Semitic talking points and figures. Famously, there's of course Alexander Dugin, who is absolutely an anti-Semite, and curiously enough also a hardcore Zionist.
Yeah.
And there's Louis Farrakhan. He also expressed support for, but did qualify that support, saying that Farrakhan has, and I quote, said some things about the Jews I don't agree with.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't agree with them, then I mean, that's something. That's something, isn't it?
And listen, I like the guy. I don't like all of his opinions about whether or not the Holocaust happened. But other than that, I like the guy. What can I do?
It's doing better than jail, that's fine. So, you know what? Why don't we just dive in a little bit? I'm gonna take us to, a particular thing. There's a problem here in that, as I was alluding to already, male for people to think about, or maybe that's what's going on. The book is very expensive. It's currently, I think, listed on Amazon at $900. It was a very interesting deal. Yeah, I mean, that's value for this tasty read. There was an interesting thing I actually noticed was Mildred and Lance did a stream together talking about Caleb a little while ago, and actually looked up the price on stream. And it was very expensive then, but it was $100 then, and he's actually put the price up since then. Now, if this is, as I've seen friends of him claim that it's because he doesn't want people to read it, I don't know. Maybe his views have changed, or maybe his views are the same and he doesn't want people to. Right. Okay. Either way,
I would maybe also, if my opinion changed, I might clarify that publicly. Say like, hey, I wrote some shit I no longer believe.
I read his Red Tube book on stream a little while ago, and I don't know how much that book was read. It's not very edited. It feels very much like you go sort of that Kerouac style. Yeah. Days is 24 hours on no sleep. Yeah. So I feel like it wouldn't be that hard. Like he's a fairly prolific writer in that regard, and so I feel like it wouldn't be that hard for him to issue some correct. If it was just that he was like, that would be right. The guy publishes 3 books before breakfast. So he's completely good. I know that in the Red Tube book, he alleged that we are all funded by the CIA. Red Tube book, but I haven't read it myself. I only watch other people. Sam, are there important notes that we should have on that? I feel. Not really. It's such a weird, circuitous argument. There's it's very strange the types of people who be included. It's there's things you would obviously expect as main people to talk about in if you're talking about Red Tube. There's a lot about there's a big section that's extremely very mean spirited about Mildred that's just publishing as much information as he could about you, or he very much get the feeling of if he
Wait. I'm just wondering, what do you think I did that made him mad?
I don't know, but it's a mystery. It's a mystery. You do with your friends.
Nothing really.
Yeah, but like CIA was also one of our favorite who, it's very strange. I have no problem with all that. Talked about it. It's also it's a bit of a strange person to include in a bread tube too. Yeah. Because Groot can be able to make some connection to some guy who in some way worked with the CIA or was influential in something, and from there that's where they would make the whole connection. So a lot of conspiratorial. Exactly. That's interesting. Would it shock you to meet a view that this book functions in a somewhat similar way, jumping around from seemingly unconnected topics, implying that there is some sort of sinister network? Would that be a surprise? I don't know. Anyway, so as we discussed, the book is somewhat expensive, and the best we've been able to get our hands on is an incomplete scan of the pages. Not everything is there. I mean this truly. If on the 20 missing pages, it is the rest of this book is satire. Then I am just uncomplicatedly sorry. So I thought we could start with a section called "What is Anti-Semitism?" Because I think that a lot of people's concerns going in here is going to be that this book is going to be anti-Semitic. And there's a section about that. There's a section about anti-Semitism. So we should get right in with that. See, that's the thing. I think if I was structuring this book and I was thinking about that concern, I might put that section right at the start. To be I know that you guys are worried about it. That's why I'm doing this game this way now. It's on page 269. Nice. It's very late into the book. Let's have a read of it. Okay.
Also, it's always good when you have to define what anti-Semitism is.
Oh, well,
good sign.
Well, let's listen to this. Let's see how he does it. Let's see what a good job he does. So, what is anti-Semitism? One mistaken and confused aspect of Zionist propaganda is redefining the term anti-Semitism itself. Anti-Semitism has been redefined mainly due to the work of Zionists. Sorry, I can't be doing the voice on every mention of Zionists because it's every third word in this book, but as a term referring to ethnic, religious, or racial bigotry against Jews, most people in the modern world use the term anti-Semitism with this simplistic definition. Let's learn some more about what anti-Semitism is. Historically, however, anti-Semitism has a very different definition. Anti-Semitism refers to a political movement that began in the 1870s in Western Europe. The anti-Semites argued that the reason for rising poverty as well as the decline of traditional morality was a conspiracy by Jews. The reason the word anti-Semitism was used was because the followers of this movement widely believed in the discredited pseudoscience called eugenics. The anti-Semites believed the Europeans were superior to all other races, and this superiority resulted in a higher level of morality. They believe that Jews lack morality. Sorry, can I just interrupt myself to say, Caleb writes so fucking condescendingly all the goddamn time, which is really hard considering how wrong he is about a lot of fucking shit. It's reading a bunch of factually incorrect stuff written in this tone that's you are a baby and an idiot. It's just
It's like an underread essay. No, I find it from.
Yeah, his sources to find out their whole Wikipedia. There's an interesting thing. We're pointing out the history of anti-Semitism, especially the history of anti-Semitism in Western Europe. One of the definitive texts would obviously be Hannah Arendt's on the origins of totalitarianism, but she talks about the fact that because Christians were forbidden to be moneylenders, Jews in Europe were moneylenders, and so
every like noble, every lord, or the aristocrats would have their court to handle all their money before they wanted to do wars and shit. And then it's a racist reimagining of the power structure that people looked at the use of that money and just basically put it the other way around. Instead of the king needs money and gets it for this, it's like the king's Jewish treasurer is the one really pulling the string. It's a really simplistic version of what that does. It's interestingly absent here. I'm just pointing it out. I'm just quickly summing it up because it's interestingly absent here. I would again have put that history there because it's important to understand how people who are going after people in power can go wrong into anti-Semitism. It's why we call, or this is why socialism. Go on, sorry. No, I mean, it's just like, yeah, sorry, jumping in.